has nothing to do with any of this. It's about a car. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. The meeting will please come to order. We do have proof of posting in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code as amended, known as the Texas Open Meetings Act. Any members of the public who wish to speak? I believe we have any members of the public that are here this morning. How are you? Good. Only glad. All right. We'll go to item number 1 to discuss the use of LGS in county offices. Can you kind of tell us where we are on this?
Yes, I presented the court. You should have a copy in front of you. We're going through this LGS system and we're getting ready to launch it. I was asked by LGS there were certain parts of the system that were not going to be utilized, which is fine, right? We knew that we weren't going to use all the functions when we acquired.
They were within what our agreement was, and it's all the same price whether we got it or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
yes.
just to be clear.
So as we're going through the selection process, there was items that were going to come off. And what LGS told me, and the reason it came to the Commissioner's Court, was they needed an addendum to the contract to reflect what we were not going to use in the system. Because they're just basically going to turn those functions off, okay? What we want to make sure is that if one department's needing something through the process, right, it's all information flow. So if one department's saying they don't want to use it, but it affects another office down the line, that's what we need to be considering in this meeting. And we'll come with a list, the items that are highlighted on this list, and hand out. I hope I've got enough for everybody. And this is every department of what they selected. And Brian, I went through with Alicia on that, so that's where your comments came from on there. Which it wasn't that much. You got one? Everybody's got one?
I know.
You have one? I'm sorry. So, you know, we just got to think of information. I mean, we're buying the system. We need to use the system to its full functionality of what our needs are. So as we go through this, we're going to just need to consider looking long-term, not looking at the way we've always done things, but how we want to move forward.
Well, when we had that meeting back in June of 2024, we discussed all of that, didn't we?
We went through, everybody pretty much agreed that the system would satisfy their needs.
Their needs.
Is what was agreed as a whole, is what was agreed on. Okay. Now we're kind of going into a fine tuning of if there's not things we're going to use, then those functions are going to be turned off and they won't be in the system. The consideration is if we don't use, if we select something that we say we don't want to use today, and then 6 months down the road we say, oh, we should have used that. It's a function that's available to us. So we need to be looking long term.
And that's 6 months worth of data that was not entered
in there that is not captured.
If we have already paid for this program and it's part of it, I'm sorry?
What you have them all?
Why would we turn any of them off?
Because there's some of the functionality in there. A good example is Renee, county clerk, right? There's functionalities within the county clerk module that she's utilizing another system on, right? What is that other system? Co-file.
But it doesn't hurt to leave it on, does it?
What it does is it'll clutter the modules. It's going to clutter because it's going to be looking for information to be put in. It's not going to hurt anything, but it's from a user standpoint, fields should have information in it, right? And if we left all Renee's on, she's probably gonna see a screen with a lot of stuff that's just vacated, right? That's not there.
For instance, we have a hot check tab on net data that we don't use, right? I do kind of agree, though. I don't think if it saves us any money, get it all. Why would we not have that tab? Because another DA may come in, he may want to use the hot check tab, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are changes in offices as well as how you want to run them. We do all of our hot check because it doesn't need to go through the system and be pulled over. So we can handle it on a spreadsheet or anything like that. It doesn't need to go into net data necessarily. But somebody, again, after me or another paralegal may want to use that tab in the future. So I can agree with you, Judge, and I don't know exactly, but I would think if we pay for the full meal deal,
Let's keep it.
get the full meal deal, whether data gets entered into there or not, I don't see why that would cause a problem.
Yeah, it's not gonna cause a problem except just from the user seeing a lot of blank stuff that the data's not there. So that's a good example of what he presented. They keep track of stuff on Excel sheet, right? And the next user, or the new DA comes in, he says, I want to start tracking hot checks. Well, all that historical data that's been tracked on Excel sheets isn't in the system. So we need to use it from day one, right?
But you can always start using it at any time
You
you want to.
can, you can, yes ma'am, you can. So if we want to leave everything on, that's fine. But I think that we need to ideally use the full functionality of the system that can be utilized.
Certainly.
I mean, and that's the thing is, you know, and I know there's a long history here with net data, and it's a very convoluted system, and it's just a difficult system to use. This is going to be a lot easier system. This is going to be, right, and the real concern is, it's like what Brian was stating, say the county clerk is not, Renee says, well, we're just going to keep doing stuff in Excel sheet because that's the way we've always done it. Next county clerk comes in, they can do whatever they want to. Part of the consideration is if she wasn't using something and she's doing it in Excel, how does that affect the data of information flowing, say, to the DA's office?
Well, that's a different thing, is if you're using it, say, in our office, and it needs to flow over to somebody else's office.
Right.
Other than if you just have a size spreadsheet that doesn't go anywhere, nobody else needs.
It is a little difficult to, kind of going back to the point of what to download and what not. When we've never used this system, it's hard to make a determination of what we need and don't need.
That's true.
Right, like I don't know the capabilities of LGS. So what I'm saying is for my office, if it doesn't cost any more money, again, I know that's a consideration, but if it doesn't cost any more money, I want the whole package downloaded. Because there may be stuff on there that I see, a tab that's
Like
like,
2 or 3 months down the road, you might say,
hey,
let's try this.
that's a good little tab. Let me go ahead and start using that. It was something that I didn't use with net data. So I think that's kind of the difficulty with parsing through right now of what an office needs and doesn't need, because I don't really know how LGS works.
That's a good point.
So I want the whole, I want what we paid for. I want the whole thing. And I would assume, in my opinion is, I would think every office should feel the same way I do, is if there's a district clerk package or a county clerk package, they need to download that whole deal, see what's
Look at
there,
it and see what's happening.
see what's happening, and
What could happen.
what could happen, yeah.
Is there any information on that program that somebody shouldn't see? I mean, some other office shouldn't see?
Well, that's a real good question, Clyde, that's a real good question. Anything that's put on there for the people that would end up seeing it, I believe that they would have access to see it and have been vetted to be able to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything, I mean,
I'm trying to think of what is on
We
this.
can control access.
some of that CJIS stuff, you know, there's some things you can't see.
Yeah.
Some people can't see, only certain offices can see it.
And I think that, and again, some of these other offices might be, yeah, I think that you have to go, right, I think that any sieges stuff, like I know my office, like Alicia, for example, has a rep, and she's approved to get onto CGIS and see that stuff. And I know what you're asking about this LGS system. I don't know, that's a good question.
Who approves people to be on the CGIS thing? Is that something that, who does that?
CGIS.
Sorry?
CGIS.
I know,
We have
but
to
like an
apply.
office holder like you, have certain people who can see it. Does every office holder, does every office holder do that? I mean, go and get them approved?
Yes, if you're gonna get onto CGIS and have a login to get on to do things on CGIS, you would have to be approved through CGIS. And somebody, like let's say myself as a CGIS rep, I would get Brian Evans' information. I forget what you have to do, maybe take like a course or something. And then you'd be approved, I'd give you a login, and now you can get onto CGIS.
But that is per person, not per
That's per person.
per person, not just whoever happens to be in that position at that moment. It's per person. You have to,
Latanya's got it in my office. Latanya does the CGIS in my office. She's been approved to do that.
Now, with that said, that's kind of a little, CGIS might be a little bit different than seeing sensitive information. Like my office deals with, there's criminal history on every person, every file that comes through, right? That's very protected. However, we deal with those. So I think there's might be a little bit of a difference between doing CGIS work and keeping up with people's criminal histories and logging on to CGIS to keep up with it, and being approved to work in an office that handles sensitive information. I think those two things might be a little
A
bit different.
lot of that's already gonna be done, because I think we gotta realize this company has 75 or 80 counties in the state of Texas that are counties our size, or rural counties. And this whole system was designed to make life easier for a rural county and bring them out of that data. And that's what it was, the whole purpose. And from what I understand, talking to the rep, was that over the years, counties have said, hey, it'd sure be nice if we could use your system to do this. And that's why a lot of this, that's how a lot of it got added in there. So this is not a trial and error deal. I mean, it's not something we're just testing and we're gonna see how it works. It's designed to work for this county, and it's designed to make, Christina's, and I stopped and talked to Christina at JP1's office this morning. Wanted her to come down here because she has said that, you know, it took me a little bit to figure it out, but she said, like, there's things that used to take me 4 to 5 hours to do that it didn't take 20 minutes to do now. And she said, like y'all's report for Commissioner's Court, she said, I literally click a button, and I don't have to go through and gather all that data because it's in the system. So she's a fan of the system. And I know there's this, you know, they went from Hill Country to LGS, not net data, but still, we gotta keep in mind, it was designed to work for counties like ours.
And let me to back you up on that, I am super excited for LGS. I am pumped. It's got long-term, it's gonna be fantastic.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear
I mean, just that's what a lot of all people I work, you know, when I go to annual conference, they're using LGS because LGS kind of conglomerated, you know, a lot of different companies together. But no, I'm super excited, but it kind of goes back to my argument of downloading the whole meal deal, is that they might have some functionality they made for rural counties that I don't even know about, kind of getting to your point. So yeah, no, just to be clear with all of this stuff, I think this is going to be long-term fantastic for all offices and functionality.
happy days.
Yeah.
One of the things to consider is, like what Clyde was regarding, was access level login. So when we create a login, there'll be somebody's email, right? It'll be that user's email. And there'll be, based on department heads' concurrence, there'll be basically a check off of what level access to data information that employee can access. If he doesn't have that check mark, then they don't see that data. So that's the control point on that. Now, with that said, and I appreciate Ron's comments, because, you know, I'm pumped up about this. I think it's a great thing for the county, and but everybody's got to give it a chance, and it'd be nice to have in each department have a what I call a champion of the system. It's kind of that go person that knows the system within their department. Okay, a champion of the system to support it and try to help questions or whatever, and that's up to the department heads. Now, with all that said, and I agree with Brian, the full meal deal. Okay, if that's an option for us. How this kind of got started, though, was with Renee's in the county clerk office. there's certain things that she's doing in
Co-file.
co-file that are options here that maybe we go ahead and leave them on? I mean, is that what, Because we get
had
into
a phone
branding.
conversation with Terry Dickens, it's with LGS, you know, you were there,
yeah,
and she said, we'll leave everything on, but we went through here, these that are highlighted or co-file, they will not. She misunderstood. She, you know, one day called when I wasn't there and talked to someone and said, we're taking over your entire office. And it's like, oh, no, ma'am, you are not. We're not getting rid of co-file, you know. And so we had this conversation with her and told her things that LGS will not be doing and what they will. Basically, to me, the purpose of this LGS is to do what Net Data was doing, and that's all we, at this time, want them to do. We may get in there and find out, hey, this is so much better than COFIL, let's do our vitals, you know.
Yes.
But right now, we don't want to do that. But she said we could leave everything turned on, but then she called me afterwards and said that they were gonna turn everything off.
that's kind of what drove a lot of this.
Yeah, that's what they're wanting to do, is to turn everything off, but like on here, say our cattle brand management. Okay, if we're in LGS, we're not gonna go to a cattle brand management tab. I mean, we're not gonna see these tabs that we're not using, so there's not.
You will see them if they don't turn them off. And that's what drove the deal. Is
We're not gonna have a need to go into them, to click that tab that says cattle brands. You see what I'm saying? I mean.
But if we leave that function turned on and you can play with it a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And then
We
find
can
a
get
better
into
system,
it
maybe we move away from
and
co-file.
see, you know, how it works, and hey, it's so much easier than co-file. Somewhere down the road, when we can budget, you know, whatever, we might want to.
What do you mean when we can budget?
Well, no, I say, well, really, it shouldn't cost anymore.
We're already
Right.
paying for it, yeah.
You're right.
The question is, can we cut out cost with COFIL,
Yeah.
because this is providing that service,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's already paid
And
for.
we even looked at them reseeding, like cashing out, or, you know, one time we talked about doing that, keeping it separate from COFIL. Right now, we cash everything out in COFIL. So all our judicial, all our court fees is cashed out in COFIL. And our reports, it's one monthly report. And so, we were looking at keeping it separate, but you're gonna have two different reports. I got with Karen, the auditor's office the other day. We decided all the GL codes and all the state fees and everything is already set up in COFIL. You're gonna have certified payment report in COFIL, a
So
certified
everything it
payment.
does in COFIL, I bet you can do an LGS or whatever it
Yes.
is. After you kind of get into it, you get
Yes.
comfortable with it, so
But for right
I
now,
don't think
I
we ought
wanna,
to turn anything off.
right now, I wanna leave even our cashing out the
Yeah.
same in COFIL. Let's learn this system, get our feet wet and going, and then maybe at a later time.
We're still in a contract with them too.
Right.
And so when that contract, when it's time for it to renew, hopefully by then, you know, you will have
Yeah.
looked at it enough and we can just move it
Yeah.
over this.
And at this point, I don't see
We pay like, what, $4,000 or $5,000 a month for it?
I don't, at this point, I do not see switching our land records. A conversion would be several $100,000. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of records. I wanna keep it separate. Let's learn LGS for our probate, criminal, civil, everything that Net Data was handling.
Especially the criminal, because what does roll over to other offices, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in time.
Right.
Do we know how much time's left on that contract? Anybody? I don't know.
I'm sorry.
If anybody know what the termination, How much time we have left on co-file contract?
Oh, at least a good 3 years.
You got 3 years left?
Might be 4. I mean, we just renewed it.
We did, just 5-year contract.
Yeah, it's 5-year contract.
So I know the GL codes were downloaded, right? We sent all those, the GL codes. We still want to do that, correct? See all the GL codes, we send it
All the
download.
GL codes, when we cash out, and state fees are in code file.
But we put them in the net, into LGS as well, or we send them
I
to
think
dump
there's
file.
gonna be more
Yeah,
to
from
it.
e-file.
Actually, there's state fees, so LGS should know what those state fees are, and they service other counties. So they've already entered state fees in GL codes, and it should be a standard, on that.
Okay, I have to get with you on the side, just to figure out on the
Okay, that's
GL
fine.
codes and how that's gonna affect, if you're not processing anything and getting the GL codes, is that gonna activate anything they're gonna be looking for?
Yeah,
But you're doing all your processing through
code file,
co-file.
yes.
Okay, so, and one other thing with this, each department, now, the county clerk, Tammy, sent this back, her and Renee, I guess, worked on this, and that's the GL code list that had been requested to dump file for the GL codes, as well as some standard information that we did, so nothing, but basically, they're needing this data. I think the district court received that form we went through a week or two ago. So they're needing to collect that data so they can build the back end of the system, just like it's GL codes, right? We got to build the core back in. And so right now, I think it's only been sent, to my knowledge
Are you
anyway,
sure?
to district court and county clerk.
Are you sure they're not already in that system? Because everybody else uses the same.
They asked us for a file dump on, as a matter of fact, you kind of see, I think on that last page there,
Okay.
they requested it, so we
Yeah.
provided it.
Just to compare, probably.
I'm thinking there's gonna be more involved in that, I was looking into that, because you have numerous fees under probate, when you do a probate case.
But everybody in the state has those.
That's right, and so
So
that's when,
all of these other 86 or 87, they have that already in the
Right.
systems.
and that's when I got with Karen yesterday, and we're like, why do they even need this from us? Because they're servicing other counties, their state fees, they're set.
Well, but there are some that are discretionary, and those may be different.
Okay.
We could look at that.
Yeah.
But I think there are some that we have a choice of whether we do it or we don't do it.
Okay.
We'll look at it.
Okay.
They'll work it out with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's our main hang up right now, is
Yeah.
nailing down those fees and,
I guess if we have right now we have a list of those fees and we can look at the statutes and see if it's required, then we don't have any issue with it. 'Cause
Yeah.
they should know that.
okay.
And we've got a spreadsheet of all that already that could be sent. Renee's probably got, Tammy, and she was one to put it together, so there's a spreadsheet with all those codes, pretty sizable spreadsheet.
So, hey, so I will say that for the justice, for the JPs.
Yes.
So the only thing that we provided was the GL codes. They knew, because it's by statute, they know how much, because when the report prints out, it prints out what is retained, what is dispersed, and they know. They fix all of their things up to where it goes to where it needs to. We just gave them the GL code names and numbers. So we didn't have to give any fees or anything like that. So they just knew.
They just knew.
I think it's a matter of who you're dealing with at LGS. I think who you were dealing with was more accommodating than this person that we have been dealing
Could have
with.
been having a bad day.
Maybe we need to talk to them about that then.
Yeah, there's some personality issues.
In everything, there's
Was it a woman or a
personality.
man?
It's a woman.
What moms
I don't know if it's a man or woman. I just want to know.
Oh, yeah.
So the main thing is I think we need to get this information to them as fast as we can. They've requested, I don't think, to my knowledge, they hadn't sent anything to the DA's office. It probably will, but it's gonna probably be minimum because most of your data flows from district court and county clerk. So, I don't know if y'all have had a chance to look at that, but timing and trying to get that together in response to them is of the essence, I guess is what I'd say. So, anyway, so that's, everybody's on the same page. I mean, I just would really promote that every department uses it to its full extent, at least tries it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but if we don't try it, we don't know.
But we spend a lot of money on all of this.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Taxpayer money on all of this. And so if we're having an issue with a person, we need to talk to them because we are demanding that they take care of us on this.
I've got some other contacts in there, actually the owner of the company, and he's real approachable, not
This
bad.
is kind of like I relate to dispatch. When is the kickoff date for this to start?
We are looking for this as long as we get the data, so just to give you guys an update, E-Force, okay, so we got 3 different things going on here. We got E-Force, LGS, and the dispatch, Windstream, they call it switches. So E-Force, I brought it up to Commissioner's Court last week or whenever it was that we built the system. It was ready to go a year ago, right? We were ready to launch it, but then we ran into this LGS issue. It's really, we're gonna stay, as I understand, with Sheriff is gonna run. I don't know that decision's been made. I need to give a response back to E4 saying, we're gonna stay with the way it's built. We're staying with the current sheriff office
We
operation.
decided that the last time we talked about it.
We've talked about it. I didn't know if it was
That's it.
actual formal. Okay. So, and then we've got to get on the training schedule. Okay. So I'm correlating everything. The switches are going to be March 17th, 18th is what Windstream is telling me. That's the date we kind of close. That's Good Friday. Okay, the county will be shut down
We
for the
can
most
start on
part.
Thursday, isn't that what we talked
Thursday and
about?
Friday, 17th,
Try to get
18th,
through on
it
Friday.
basically plug 2
On
days.
Thursday.
They had ordered the wrong switches. We installed a switch over at the DA's office. Then they went to the warehouse, they weren't PoE switches, so they're having to reorder switches. They hadn't given me a delivery. They said it's still in the process of doing what they got to do. But 17th, 18th is what I'm looking for, to have Windstream, right, all their stuff done. E-Force, we get on their training schedule. What I'd like to do is that next Monday, when everybody comes in, is to start training with E-Force and LGS. LGS was telling me that they'll be ready the first part of, early part of April, I'll say, on the LGS system. E-Force, I gotta get on the training schedule, which.
Get on it.
And they're pushing for it right now.
Yeah, they're pushing hard on it. And so everything's moving to that, and the switches be put in. I can't start doing all that training, right? So the 17th, 18th, the switches, that next Monday, everybody comes in. Hopefully we're training up on LGS and E-Force. We'll have certain things going off over here. It's correlated schedule, but that's the date that's where we're at.
So LGS is coming down here to train our people
Yes, they will come.
next week?
No, not next week. No, I'm sorry, 17th and 18th of May.
Of May.
May.
April.
April.
Oh, right after Good Friday.
Oh, yeah, Good Friday, whatever Good Friday is.
April.
I'm sorry.
April.
My head's still clogged. I've been out sick for 2 days, so I promise you I'm not.
Okay, now another question about when they come to train. Will they train half the office and we stay open? Do we close for a
That's a good
couple of
question.
days to get everybody?
It's a really good question. So we've had some discussion around this, and what they try to do is, they want the whole department in one setting, okay? And what they're gonna do is, they'll bring in computers, we'll be live on our system, looking at our data. Training would hopefully take place, I'm trying to get down at the JP 1-3 courtroom, because it's kind of set up like a classroom. We'll have a screen, whatever, everybody will have a computer so that everybody have a PC, they're working live on the system. So they want the whole department.
Who's going to their office when they're in there?
Well, and that's something that Judge and I spoke about, and, you know, it's whoever's the less user of the system,
Who's
right?
running the office if all of them's training at the same time?
Well, if we had to, we could close a day for everybody to be there. That's gonna be the best option for you.
That's what the vendor wants everybody to
Yeah,
do. So-
either that or train two, you know?
No, they're
Yeah,
not.
but he said it's gonna be at least one day, maybe two.
Yeah.
So if you do it that would be 3 days or maybe 4.
And they're gonna do it by department, okay? So they'll have one day they'll have district court in, another day they'll have county clerk, so they're gonna be here for a full week.
Okay.
And, so they'll do it by department, right? One day, one department, or maybe 2 departments, depending on size and such. So then they'll be working with you, they'll hang out in your office when you get back to your seats, and they'll hang out for an afternoon and kind of help anybody with questions.
I know that that's inconvenient for the taxpayers, but how else can we do it?
Sacrifice one day to make it better every day thereafter.
Yeah,
And there'll probably be different days, it'll be a Monday, Tuesday,
for
Wednesday.
different offices, but as long as we post it early enough, whatever, you know, everybody know that
That's all coming.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
closed on this day, all day.
And at that time, you know, if all the schedule comes together,
It won't.
if it does, then, you know, ideally, at that point in time, we're live on LGS, we're live on eForce, dispatch can be, right, come up on the line. I believe right now, I need to look at a couple of things, but I'm almost to the point of saying that if the sheriff deputies wanted to move over there, we could operate on a current switch for what they're doing, at least have that move done, so it's one less thing to be done. I think we're, you know, because we got internet, we got phones, we just, you know, it's just one less thing, and then when dispatch shows up over there, everybody's moved and relocated.
Yeah, that'd be good, I think.
We-
And you could put all those things in there that we're supposed to move.
Yeah, we gotta get those.
Yeah, there's some cleanup, I mean, it's not, I'm not talking next week or
Those
two.
bookshelves,
Those shelving things.
Right.
yeah, if we could get them out and move the deputies over some time would be
The
good
metal shelving.
Yes.
It's over there.
for the big books.
Now, just thinking outside the box a little bit here, and I probably can't talk about it right now, but I think Lloyd and I spoke a little bit about it, but on the courthouse restoration and room to be able to relocate people during the restoration process, it would be, in my opinion, it would be nice if the deputies move out of there. That's a big room that could accommodate almost a whole floor of each of this courthouse to relocate during the restoration process. In other words, if we set all his book racks and get everything set up for county clerk, it's set, right? And then where do we move people type thing. But there, it's close to the courthouse, and it's a big room that it's gonna be some inconvenience, you know.
But it's wired.
But it's wired, and it basically could accommodate during that transition, during the restoration process. But that's outside of this meeting, but something to think about.
Will there be bookshelves just around the outside of the walls and open in the middle?
Well, that's kind of the plan, but some may end up having to go in the middle. It depends on how many is over there. But that's what I was gonna do, is line them around the walls, and then there was a couple, I'm not sure that, you know, the half, like the table on top.
Yeah.
I was thinking about setting those
In the middle.
in the middle, but
Well, but if we wanted to use it for that purpose, we could just put in the ones that go around the outside, and then,
You can line even the small ones, you can move them all against the wall, there's plenty of wall space down there.
if we gotta
You
use that
just
for a little while.
store them on one side of the room, because all the, like, internet and electrical's in the wall,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Maybe
we'll
we'll
work
come
around
in.
that.
yeah, we could work with it some way
Put it in there.
yeah,
I mean,
to do that, and we were thinking if we had the third floor, if that was one of the first rooms that we got floors that we did, then we could use all of those, on both sides of the district courtroom for people to be relocated if we needed to relocate.
Yeah, you may not need it, it was just a thought, that if we're gonna empty it out, you know, before we do the full move,
Yeah.
it might be.
We have options, okay.
Okay, so that's it, so.
Well,
my
now,
understanding-
do you have any other issues that you want to talk about? Are you going to try to use at least the programs where the information flows over, like to the DA's office or whatever?
Yeah, just like we've done with net data.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
That's what I was gonna say, does anybody see anything that they're cutting out, but yet there's another?
I think the
office?
only thing because I kind of shared this cross departmentally, and the only thing that was brought to my attention, and you know, anybody else that's seen anything, y'all know, you know, it's business better than I do, that was, I think, around juvenile case management. I think district court, it's historically, you guys use a spreadsheet, I think it was around that. And when I was speaking with the DA's office, they're using that part of the system. That was the only real.
And I think that's why this conversation's a little premature if we download the whole thing, right? Because we're not using a juvenile tab with net data because it doesn't exist. You see what I'm saying? So, of course the district clerk doesn't want juvenile, because we don't have a juvenile tab now.
Yeah.
But if we download the whole thing, we may get together and look at this juvenile tab, be like, hey, this is great. Let's use this for the flow of information. So I think it's kind of semantics that we're getting into what we need and don't need when we don't really know. It's like, hey, I don't need heated seats in my car. You get in the car, you start using it, you're like, man, these heated seats are awesome. I'm gonna use these heated seats all the time. That's kind of the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah.
That I think if we download the whole thing that we get with our money, the dinner offices will talk about those new tabs that we don't have right now, and we'll figure out what's the best way for our information to flow between the two elected officials. But I think as long as we download the full meal deal, I keep using that term, then we're not left in the dust, and we can discuss it, kind of what, hey, you can see if it'll work better than CoFile, and then you can make a decision from there. Kind of the same thing for us, we'll have it all there, and we'll make a decision on what works
Sounds good.
and what doesn't.
Okay, so I'll tell yes to, I don't know if there's anything to vote on or anything. The agreement's already been done, there's not gonna be an addendum. I'll just respond back to them, tell them we're gonna use full functionality of it,
That's right.
and we want everything turned on.
I got a question on the jury wheel, how do y'all do it now?
Through the, state.
We call and tell them you need a,
Well, LaTanya does it, so, but, yeah, we just.
your office, I mean.
Some people, I just wondered, because it was one of the services provided, and I would assume they would get from the voter registrar, the
Yes, it
information
goes
put
from
in here.
from the voter register.
But, you know, some people say, man, I got called 4 times for jury last year.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I know 100
Some
people that
people
didn't
have
get called at
been
all. I wonder, would this be better? Is it designed to be better than what we're using?
Whatever, yeah, it feels, I guess it is very random, but yeah, it's funny because I've gotten the same. I can name a couple people I've gotten 5 times in 8 years since I've been here, and I've had people that have been called in 20. So it just, again, I don't know the system that's used, but it's unfortunately not funny for the person that keeps having to come up here 5 times, but,
We
Well, I
have,
mean,
we have
if
husband
it
and
was
wife.
a better system, then it'd be good to use.
yeah, I don't,
Yeah, we can look into that, you know, if it's better than what we're doing now, we'll use it, look at it.
Okay, so I appreciate everybody's time. I hope this wasn't a waste of time.
Oh, I
know
don't
we
think it was.
came to-
I think it's been very productive, if not, the only thing, the main thing is that we want to keep everything.
Okay.
So hopefully, we can use everything we can, since we pay so much for this.
Hey, I see another thing that shows county clerk's gonna use automated CJIS submission. District clerk has got it, not using it,
No, we're not using, no,
but the DA's gonna use it. So, I mean, is that some data sharing that would be beneficial to your office?
well, if we're gonna use the whole, you know, if we're gonna get the whole package, we can use it, we can use it, if that's best for everybody.
it felt, again, I'm not saying, just kind of to explain what's kind of going on behind the scenes, and I appreciate Dane trying to get as efficient as possible, but it almost felt like when you go to the grocery store, you cut out buying soda because it's gonna cost too much. It felt like marking out this list was almost saving the county money.
Yeah, that's why.
You see what I'm saying? So we got this list of what we need and don't need, and there were some things on the list where it's like, I would really like to have that, but I can make it work over here, so I'm not gonna use it. Thinking it was gonna cost y'all
Right.
a la carte $5,000 per item. So that's what I'm saying. I think there's been a little bit of, again, no nobody's fault, but a little bit.
Yeah, because the contract was signed with everything that you can see.
Everything in.
So you see what I'm saying? So some people have tried to do a service to the taxpayer by saying, hey, I don't want that. I can do it in a more inefficient way to save money. That's why I feel very opinionated on this issue, to get the whole thing. And
If we pay
if we
for
pay
it.
for it, see what works and kind of go from there. So anyway, I think that's kind of where those type of things fall with this list that's highlighted and not highlighted is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really started with the county clerk's office, because when we started marking stuff off, that was when they said, well, we're gonna do an addendum, and I thought, well, I better go talk to all the departments.
Yeah, nothing wrong, nothing wrong with that. And again, there's gonna be a lot of tabs we don't use, and it is gonna be cluttered, believe me. So I definitely see that. I just, speaking unfortunately for myself, but maybe even the rest of the county, is just, I don't know if we know what we have until we.
I would just hate for one office to be doing data entry, using it, and another office be doing it on something other than LGS, and
So
going
it
through the
didn't
data
flow,
entry when all they had to
right.
do was use that tab and reach in there and grab it.
I think that so there's I'm sorry, I'm a visual analogy guy, and it's kind of annoying to some people, but it's kind of like a flow of a river, and boats stop off at different ports, okay? So you got a flow of information. Some of it stops with the sheriff's office. The case never comes over to me. So they're responsible for entering that information to CJIS. Some of the flow stops with me. They bring a case over and I decline it. Then we get on to CJIS and we put declined. Then sometimes we file the case, so now that river flows to the district clerk's office or the county clerk's office, and then let's say we plea them, then it's up to them to get on to CJIS, because now that boat's stopping there. I think that automated systems are great. We've always gone directly onto CJIS website and put it on the CJIS website. So while on LGS, I want that automated system included, we're probably not using the automated system, because with an automated system, there's always potential of mistakes. Because basically it's LGS communicating with, there's a CJIS website. So LGS, when you enter that information in there, it's automatically communicating with CJIS to close things out. We like to go directly on to CJIS website and close it out and see it on the CJIS website that it's closed out. So it's kind of just a different way of doing it. So while you're not using the automated system, I actually think I like that better, because I like to go directly to the source when it comes to CJIS and close it out. So.
Your boat analogy was better than the heated seat.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I don't personally like heated seats, so I can take it or leave it.
What is that boat stop on the river?
Port, I think it's port, but that's not a good river. That's not a good river analogy.
All right, anything else? You haven't said much this morning, do you want to? Are you excited about getting it?
Yes.
I think it's gonna make everybody's lives a lot better.
Yeah.
What I've seen with that data
I'll be
and that
done.
system being so
All
old
right.
and.
I know y'all have another meeting, so lucky y'all.
I'll show you, I'll lead you in there, set you down.
Put that somewhere here, so I can put it next
I
time.
will.
Yeah, I'll give you mine, I can just give it to you before the meeting's done.
Sure.
Just in my box in there.
Well, thank you all for coming this morning, and we had a very